What if I told you in 3 easy folds, you can turn a plain piece of paper into an amazing pop-up element in your journal? Well, it's not only possible, but surprisingly easy. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 2 examples from my own journaling that will show you step by step how to turn a plain piece of paper into a super fun pop-up for your journal or any paper crafting hobby. And I'm so excited to share that today's video is part of Junk Journal July, hosted by Meg Journals in collaboration with Get Messy Art. And there are 29 other creators who are contributing to this collaboration with a video. So I will have that playlist linked below for you so you can follow along. For every day of the challenge, there is also a prompt that is meant to inspire us in our journaling. So whether you are here for Junk Journal July and looking for inspiration, or you just found this video because you're looking for a fun new element for your journal, allow me to welcome you to my abiding journal. My name is Kelsey Lee, and I hope you'll consider subscribing and sticking around for more. Now let's talk about my interpretation of the prompt fold and what you'll need to create this pop-up. It's really quite simple. You'll need paper, scissors, maybe an X-Acto knife if you have one, some markers, adhesive, and I didn't add this to the list, but washi tape is a great addition as well. The first thing you're going to do is take a small piece of paper, basically any size that is going to fit within your journal. The width and height doesn't really matter too much. It all depends on what you're trying to create, as you're gonna see. But the idea here is that you're just folding it in half. Yes, it's that easy. Then what you're gonna do is take the 2 ends and fold them up. Now, I only folded about a half an inch. It doesn't really matter. This is just where you're going to adhere this piece to your journal, so the size doesn't need to be exact. To reinforce your folds, you can press down with the edge of your scissors or a credit card just to make it nice and crisp. Now you essentially have a little tent, so think of it like 2 legs with your feet sticking out to the sides, one on the left and one on the right. The left foot, if you will, is going to attach to the left side of your paper, and the right foot is going to attach to the right side of your paper for your open spread. But before we attach anything, we first want to make this plain piece of paper a little more exciting and turn it into something. In my case, I decided to turn it into a butterfly. So I just did a very simple sketch of the butterfly, making sure that the wings of the butterfly connect to the top where the piece is folded and go all the way to the bottom where the feet are located. The idea here is that whatever you are drawing, because truly it can be anything, the sky is the limit, all you want to make sure is that whatever you draw is able to connect the top and the bottom, so that way both sides of the element remain connected at that center fold. You can then have fun with markers or colored pencils and decorate what it is you have drawn. In my case, I chose to do both sides as mirror images. But if you want to get creative, you might consider doing one side as an illustration and the other side as a place for a quote or journaling. Once you're happy with how both sides of your element look, you are ready to adhere it to the page. And that is where your little feet are going to come in. So you're just going to take the bottom portions of your feet and add either a tape runner or glue that you like to use to adhere it to your journal. And then, like I said before, you're going to adhere the left feet to the left side of the page and the right feet to the right side of the page, staying as close as possible to the center of the page or the gutter of your journal. Your pop-up element is actually complete at this point, but if you don't really like the way that the feet look, you can cover it up with washi or even take an entire sheet of paper and place it over the feet. This is a really nice way to give it a clean, polished look, And then the pop-up element looks like it's truly just popping out of the center of your notebook. If you have a little bit of white space showing in the middle, you can simply color that in with a matching color or add even more of the washi. And just like that, you have a finished, beautiful pop-up right in the middle of your journal that folds down when you close the journal and then pops right back up when you open it again. Now, I did say I have 2 examples for you in this video, so don't go anywhere because this is probably my favorite example. It's a tiny bit more complicated, but it still starts with that very simple 3 easy folds to create your pop-up element. So we're gonna do the exact same thing again and take a piece of paper, fold it in half. In this case, I didn't cut it down to size until after I folded it. The order doesn't matter too much as long as you have a center fold, and then take the edge of each flap and fold it up. Again, the size of the flap doesn't matter too much either. You just want to create a little space for you to apply your adhesive. Now that we have our little tent element again, we can take this in any creative direction. Again, the whole idea here is that you just keep the top and bottom connected so that the entire element stays intact. In my case, I decided to actually draw a series of trees to make it look like a forest. The inspiration for this pop-up element was the Hall of Mosses in the Hoh rainforest at Olympic. I wanted to create a travel journal entry that would bring back to life the experience of being in that enchanting forest surrounded by the dripping mosses and the ancient feeling of those trees towering overhead. It was such a magical feeling that I wanted to bring to my journal. Because cutting this one out will be a little bit more complicated, I've gone ahead and just lightly shaded all of the parts of the design that will be cut out. Now, while I can cut them all out with scissors, it is a lot easier to cut out these smaller elements with an X-Acto knife. So I went ahead and took a nice sharp X-Acto knife and just traced, like I would with a pencil, the lines to cut out all of those smaller interior elements. If you don't have an X-Acto knife, you can use your scissors for these interior pieces by simply poking a hole through the center of it and then cutting from the middle out. This way you can still get out that tricky middle piece and create a more complicated design regardless of the cutting tools at your disposal. And here is our completed element. When you open it, you can see how I still have those connection points that keep both sides together while having some really fun cutouts. Now, I wanted to bring these trees to life even more, and again, that is where some markers are going to come in. I found that alcohol markers worked a little bit better on this particular paper, so pulled out my markers from Arteza to add some color to the trunks and the branches, and then actually went on to the top half of the feet and decided to actually incorporate this as part of the design by adding some roots, since that was a really big part of the trees that we saw in Olympic is just these great networks of their roots that would show up above ground. So while you can cover the feet up with washi or paper, sometimes you may want to actually make them part of your design depending on what you're creating. For this design, I also decided to color the inside of the trees since there were so many cutouts, which might lead to seeing the inside a bit more. I then put tape on the bottoms of the feet, and it was time again to attach our pop-up element to our journal. We again are putting the left side on the left side of the journal and the right side on the right side of the journal, adhering it by the feet and doing it right in the center of the notebook down the gutter. While these trees would look great all on their own, I wanted to add a little something extra to them because, as I said, they are meant to represent the trees in the Hall of Mosses. So naturally, I wanted to find a way to make it look like there is moss hanging off of the trees. And I had this idea to take some thread and essentially weave it around the branches and over the boughs of the tree to essentially act like the moss. And I purposefully tried to leave some parts of the thread dangle a bit more, just like the moss would, and have it weave over and over again on some of the branches to give it a really natural look. When it was done, I just tied off the end and had it hang down, and then did the same thing again with another thread in a slightly different color. And because that just wasn't quite enough, I decided to also use this gauze-like ribbon I had and actually colored it green using a marker, and then threaded that through the branches as well to give it a really authentic mossy look. And that completed our pop-up element, but of course this page is not yet done. So I then moved on to the title, and I wanted this to be really big and bold so that it was very clear why there were trees in the center of the page covered in mosses. Now, I did the title with my alpha stencils and then quickly realized that there's no way I was going to fit mosses across the page, so the black washi tape came to the rescue and I just covered up the mistake. I love covering up mistakes, there's no harm in it, and then you can just start again. A lot of times, some of my most brilliant sparks of creativity started with a mistake. In this case, I was quite happy with the finished result by having the black background that made it look a little bit different and made mosses pop even more, with the alpha stickers on top in a nice crisp white. You'll also notice, to get my spacing right, I started with the outer letters, then put the middle letters in, and then put in the other letters between those to make sure everything is spaced nice and even across the page. And then no travel journal entry of mine is complete without some photos. I use this photo paper from Koala and printed tons of beautiful photos of all of the mossy tree goodness from the Hoh rainforest. One thing I like to do with these types of travel spreads is have a main photo that is really the best photo of the experience, and then a collage of additional photos that also are important to getting a full understanding of that experience. I then organized these collages together so that it would look like one full collage down the vertical side of the page, and just trimmed off the top that stuck out. In the open space of the title, I decided to write the quote that was on the sign at the entrance of the trail. It read, "Here there is a primeval spirit, moldering logs, trunks shaggy with moss, and giant trees that seem as old as the earth." I thought that was a perfect way to represent the Hall of Mosses, and then filled it out with even more of my journaling. I also wanted to bring a few ephemera pieces from the trip itself. I gathered a lot, and these were stamps that I actually stamped at the entrance of the Hoh rainforest that they had available for free, which was so fun, probably mainly aimed towards children, but as a journaler, you gotta take advantage of those opportunities, and I definitely did. So here I had a date stamp with Ho Rainforest written on it that I ended up using to cover up the O in of as a nice addition to the title. And then took this cool banana slug stamp and added that as well. Unfortunately, I didn't see a real banana slug in the rainforest, but they are there. And here is the finished entry with our wonderful pop-up element at the center, which, as you saw in our process today, all started with 3 easy folds. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and journal with me. If you did, I'd love for you to give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment letting me know what you took away from this video and what ideas you have for a pop-up using this technique in your own journal. If you need more inspiration, I have tons more videos here on my channel, or you can follow along with the Junk Journal July playlist.